I'd like to call to order the May 2nd, 2012 meeting of the Milton School Committee. And as is our custom, I invite you to stand and salute the flag as you're able.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we start tonight, we are doing one thing slightly differently tonight. Once a year, we have to vote on the issue of school choice for the Milton Public Schools as to whether students from other districts can be allowed into the district to, on a tuition basis, to fill empty seats. That's a vote we'll be taking later in the evening. But at the beginning of the meeting, we have to call an open hearing to allow anyone who wishes to speak on that issue to speak first. So I'm going to open the open hearing for school choice. If anyone wishes to speak on the school choice issue, you may. We'll close the open hearing, go right into the school committee meeting. So as I open the regular public hearing on school choice, is there anyone who wishes to speak to the issue? Fine, hearing none, we will close the hearing on school choice. Move on to our regular agenda. Are there any corrections, additions, amendments to our agenda from the committee? Yes.
I would just like to give a very brief 350th update at some point. Very, very brief.
Yes, sure.
I promise.
Stunned that you would request that, absolutely. We'll put that under my report. In fact, we'll do it at the beginning of my
Oh,
report.
thank you.
Anything else for this evening's agenda? And without any objection, we'll declare the agenda approved and moved on to citizen speak. We have one person for citizen speak, Paula Sullivan-Haler. And if you'd like to come up to the microphone. The microphone is as much for the benefit of folks at home, so if you just, it'll be fine where it is.
Thank you very much for having me. Is this on?
Yes.
Memories. Okay. Thank you for having me. The reason that I'm here tonight, my name is Paula Sullivan-Hyler. I have two children that went through the school system. One graduated Milton High in 2009 and another one, hopefully, 2013. I'm here tonight representing the Milton High School all-night party. For those of you that are not aware of this, that's why we're here. You may see some of these if you're at the high school or if you have a child that is a senior. It is the tradition of Milton High School and has been for 19 years that on graduation day, after the kids all graduate, go home, have a barbecue, whatever they're going to do, at 10 o'clock that night, they come back to the Copeland Fieldhouse and we lock them in all night long. Any of you that have children of that age know that graduation, prom, it's a big time of life, graduating from high school, and it's meant to be celebrated. But along with celebration can come a lot of pain and hardship and death and people staying up all night and worrying. This is why we have the all-night party. These kids have a ton of energy. They're excited. They want to party. They need to party. And we put them in a drug-free, alcohol-free environment. And the gorgeous Copeland Fieldhouse turns into their little playground. In order to get all of the kids to this year after year after year after successful year, we have to throw them quite a party. They eat like teenagers, and they play like athletes and like students, and they have a ball, but we have to keep them busy, and it's a very expensive party. We're spending about $15,000 to do this. They don't know what they're going to walk into, but they do know to tell the class year after year, you got to go to this party. It's the best, it's the best, it's the best. They have a wonderful time. We do charge the kids $55 to go to the party. It covers a lot of the expenses. There's mechanical bulls, there's inflatable obstacle courses, there's hypnotist shows, there's tarot card readers, there's tattoo artists, temporary tattoo artists. There's tons of food. dancing, DJs. It's an amazing, amazing night. I don't know if any of you have, yes, they've been there. It's amazing. The kids have a ball. Seniors only, no dates, nobody but the graduates. They have the best time. And all of the parents of the seniors can sleep, and the neighbors can sleep. And I cannot remember in the years that I have been involved in this or any that we have had a tragedy. And that is what we do it for, so that there's every kid that graduates is alive the next morning. And that's a big deal because it's not happening everywhere. So with all that being said, I just want to make everybody aware that we need support. We can use support with volunteers. We have to decorate. We have to clean it up. We have to be there all night. So especially nurses, doctors, EMTs, anybody that's used to staying up all night, we really like to have you there. So we do need some support there, monetary support. We do have some kids that can't afford to go. It's expensive to graduate from high school with all that they have. If you can buy somebody a ticket, that's great. That's $55. If you have a business that can donate something that helps the party run, that's great. There's something that everybody can do. Somebody said to me one time, I'd like to help, but I can't walk. Great. We need somebody sitting at the door. Perfect. So they sat there for 9 hours. There's something for everybody. So please be aware of the all-night party. It's called ANP. You might hear that. We have information. Oops, upside down. All kinds of information on it. If you have a senior, make sure they go. If you're an underclassman, you're the parents that need to help so that when your child's a senior, somebody's there for your kids. Does anybody have any questions?
Mary.
On the front of the web will be your contact information, and parents or citizens should know they don't have to volunteer for the whole night. You assign shifts.
Absolutely. There are shifts. You can do daytime shift, which would be to help decorate, early morning. People do it before work. They come in because it's over at 5 a.m. You can come before work and help. You can be there from 10 to 11:30. You can be there from 1 to 4 in the morning. That's really when the party rocks. That's when you want to be there. No, there's all different things that you can do and different times you can be there. Decorating committee, we have a short window to decorate. So we like a lot of people, and that's fun. So if you're not going off to graduation parties or whatever, we've got music going. It's not like hard, dirty work. It's like blowing up balloons and, sticking a few things on the wall. So that's fun. Yeah, and we have a blog. We have some printed material. We have an email address. You can find us, and you can just come down there. You can call the day before. No reservations needed. Show up and help. The only people you can't bring to help are high school kids because they can't see it until it's their turn. Interestingly, some of our biggest supporters are past graduates. They had so much fun, they come back and help. So as long as you're not bringing your child, that's like a sophomore, oh, come decorate, don't do that, because it's going to be for them in a little bit. But anybody else, come on down.
Ms. Sullivan-Hyler, you're to be complimented for taking this on and sharing it. Big round of applause.
It really has been my pleasure
Thank
to
you.
work with the kids on this. We've done good, everybody. Everybody can give
Saved lives.
themselves a round of applause. We've got good kids coming out of school year after year. We can be very proud of the way they behave when they're at the all-night party.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Just echoing some of us have done I've done the 1 to 5 a.m. shift when my kids were coming up. For parents especially of 9th and 10th graders to sort of lay the groundwork for your kids when they get to 12th grade. The other group of people that the students absolutely do not want to see that night are their own parents. That's completely off limits. So, but the parents of other people, other younger children there is fine. And so, yeah, we'll put in a plug for it. It is a lot of fun, even for the 1 to 5 a.m. shift.
Can I just ask that, Paul, before you go, is that I know it's a lot of fun and it's great, but I also want to echo what you said about we've been very lucky in Milton to not have some very serious things and tragic things happen, and that's not true in every community. So thank you very much for being there and doing this, and I think it's a wonderful thing. So
It is a great
appreciate
thing,
that.
and it's not me, believe me. I mean,
Yep.
I'm just giving the information. There's a lot of people. It's been going on for 19
Right.
years,
It's
and
amazing. Impressive.
People get to sleep at night because of this party, knowing that their children are locked in.
Great.
Wish we could do that every Saturday.
Is there anyone else for citizens speak tonight? Thank you. So we move on to the approval of our minutes. First, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes of the April 4th, 2012 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Walker, second by Ms. Sheridan. Any comments, corrections to the minutes? Yes.
This
Sheridan.
pertains to the 350th. Are you surprised about that?
No.
On page 3, under happenings, it says, Mr. Phelan discussed the April 11th event at which MHS will feature music, student work, and both oral and video presentations. I think we should add celebrating Milton's 350th anniversary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else for the minutes of April 4th? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes of April 4th?
An updated packet?
Oh, I didn't see it on this end. In favor of the minutes of April 4th? Opposed, abstaining, 1. So it's 401. Get my numbers straight. The minutes of April 19th, which was a finance subcommittee meeting that had a quorum, which was posted also as a full school committee meeting and had a quorum of members present. Again, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes of April 19th.
I'm going to move that we defer these. The section on Parks and Recs doesn't have any context, and 1D is actually a separate discussion about fees, so they need a little work.
Okay. Is that acceptable to you that we'll table these to our next meeting? So it's been moved by Mr. Walker to table. We'll do this properly. Was there a second to tabling the?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of tabling these till our next meeting? That's unanimous. Thank you. And now we move on to the superintendent's report, and the reason that the room is packed tonight. Ms.
Thank you.
Gormley.
Thank you, Chairman Pavlicek. First, I'm very proud. I'd like to ask to join at the table Dr. Karen Spalding and Wallace Heller and his parents. Would you join us, Mr. and Mrs. Heller, with your son? Right up here at the table? This is so exciting. Here, take a seat. And so this is a very, very exciting part of the school committee meeting. Wallace, I want you to know the school committee members tell me that it's the highlight, to be able to actually see, hear, meet, and ask questions. And I have asked Dr. Spalding to come tonight to explain the involvement of Cunningham students, PS students who you can read about in the email blast, but Wallace is really representing all of those students who participated and earned recognition. Dr. Spalding and Wallace, welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Heller.
I am delighted to be here with Wallace Heller and Mr. and Mrs. Heller, and also want to acknowledge Arjun Soher and his parents, Dr. and Mrs. Soher. It is so exciting that they both won a Curiosity Award, and the Curiosity Award program is part of the Cambridge Science Festival. So for 5 years now, the Cambridge Science Festival has celebrated science in the greater Boston area. It is physically located in Cambridge, but they invite those in surrounding towns and cities to celebrate science for an entire week. And as part of that, MIT runs the Curiosity Awards, and it's an opportunity for students to submit artwork or poetry or essays that describe something that they're curious about. And there were 1,500 submissions, And we were so excited to have Wallace Heller, 4th grade at Cunningham, as well as Arjun Soher, 3rd grader at Cunningham, were selected to receive an award. And we attended a brunch Sunday morning at MIT. And the students were honored and got to hear a keynote speaker, a scientist in the field. And in addition, their work is being published in a book. So there will be a book with Wallace's work as well as Arjun's, and there are also some peer students who received this award. And so Wallace has brought his piece of work with him, and if it would be okay, could he read a little bit of it? Would that be okay? Does that feel okay? Okay. We're gonna slide this over for you. Right on top.
I am curious. So many things pop into my head. I wonder, but one thing stays in my head and won't go out. It's that bright sun that glistens over the forest. I wonder how it was made. I wonder. I glare at the sunrise and sunset. I glare at the sizzling sun in the summer. I glare at the melting sun in the winter. The sun is one powerful thing. I know the sun is 17 light years away from Earth, but in the summer it feels like it's on my back. It's powerful. Shine on.
Oh, is that magnificent, Wallace? And that's going to be published? Oh, that is fabulous. A scientist, a writer, public speaker. You're to be congratulated, Wallace.
He also participated in the Cunningham Science Fair this year, too. Very exciting.
Well, I know Wallace in a different way. Not only is he a scientist, a writer, and a poet, and he's also a soccer player, a lacrosse player, and a basketball player. So he's one busy guy, and he's one talented young man, and very much appreciated that he took the time to take on this challenge and represent the Cunningham School. So congratulations. And I don't call him Wallace, I call him Wally, because he's Wally, who plays in the lacrosse teams. Good job, Wally. Well done, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Mr. Walker?
Wallace, congratulations. That's a very nice job, and competing with that many people and coming out on top is pretty impressive, so nice job. And by the way, you look very nice tonight. And I know your dad, he's the good guy too. So.
Wallace, may I ask you something? Do you think when you go to college and then go into a career, you want to be a scientist or use your science?
Yeah, yes. So I wonder about a lot of things. So yeah, I probably will be a scientist.
So exciting. Well, we want to congratulate you, and you represent all of the students who went to this ceremony Sunday, Dr. Spalding, all their families, and we are so, so very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll look for your book. All right? Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Heller. Thank you, Dr. Spalding. Next, I have a huge soft spot for this next, what started as a club at Milton High School and then became an elective. And we touted your successes, and school committee member Leroy Walker asked if the debate club would come and present to the school committee and share the progress and saga of this year of debate. So may we ask the coaches, Nick Fitzgerald and Nancy Warren, and our Milton High School debate team to come forward, please, and join us at the table. We don't have enough chairs for everyone, but often all of the students come up so they're on camera, and they can sit right next to Mr. Walker over here or stand on either side.
Move the chairs forward.
So maybe one row in the back stand, and then another row sit in front of them. Gentlemen, ladies, sit down. So Ms. Warren, Mr. Fitzgerald, do you want to begin the introductions and tell about this year, maybe student representatives and yourselves?
Yes, I'll begin.
Well, we have to, maybe if we pass this mic, Mr. Lynch, if we pass the mic from speaker to speaker, and Ms. Warren at the other end.
So there's a lot of us here, so I'm not going to introduce everyone. But this is the Milton High Debates team. This is our...
No, introduce everyone.
Introduce everyone, okay.
You can pass it right around.
Yeah, how about we do that? How about
Pass the mic.
Good.
So we'll start with Maya Rosemary, and she's our senior. I'd like to just introduce her as our probably longest tenured member. She's been there since day one. She's going to graduate this year. Her contributions we will not forget. I don't think we would be here right now if it weren't for her commitment. So we'll start with her. Say your name, yes.
And the year that you're
Name
in.
and grade, yeah.
Name and grade.
Okay, I'm Maya Rosemary, and I'm a senior this year.
I'm Elsa Jeffries. I'm a junior.
I'm Cormac Connors. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Amy Savino. I'm a freshman.
I'm Amanda Gassi. I'm a freshman.
I'm Leon Quach, and I'm a senior.
I'm Olivia Erickson, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Nancy Warren. I'm the other faculty advisor.
I'm Chris DeCita, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Julie Mitty, and I'm also a sophomore.
I'm Evie Oliverio, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Coleman Lyden. I'm a freshman.
I'm Tess Davis, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Katrina Ramkissoon, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Karina Delarm, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Jack Caldrew, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Chris Ricciuti, and I'm also a sophomore.
I'm Isabel Smith. I'm a junior.
I'm Michael Ricciuti, and I'm a sophomore.
So Nick Thompson with the name.
So like I said, this is our third year. We participate in a type of debate called public forum debate. It's a 2-on-2 competition. Each debater competes with a partner. Every month there's a national league called the National Forensics League that determines a resolution that we will debate. Usually the resolution comes out 1 month in advance. We spend 1 month researching and then 1 month competing. It gets a little bit challenging in that the month that we're competing, we're also researching for the next month's topic. So debate can be kind of a busy activity. All of the students here that are on the debate team also participate in other clubs and activities in the high school, so these are very busy students. We appreciate their willingness to commit to the team. The team has only grown and become more successful every year, and that's just kind of because of their commitment, I guess. Do you guys have questions?
The topics this year and where you traveled to.
Okay. So each year our program grows. We've actually started competing nationally. Last year, for the first time, we competed in Virginia. This year, we competed at 2 national tournaments, one at Yale. Elsa and Maya here competed at Yale. And we also competed at Harvard. Michael, Christopher, Treasure, who's not here, and Cormac competed at Harvard over February vacation. Typically, we travel to the towns around Boston. Most of the towns around Boston have some type of a debate team. There's probably between 10 and 15 really competitive schools, and I think each year we get to be closer to one of the better, actually, teams in the state. Someone's going to have to help me here. This year we qualified for the state finals. Elsa Jeffries and Chris DeCita actually placed 3rd in the state, and the resolution that they debated was, Elsa, remind me.
Where was the Pakistan? Should we suspend all aid?
U.S. assistance to Pakistan should be suspended.
Yeah,
Want to repeat that for
yeah, I
the
think that the
audience?
resolution was resolved. The United States should suspend all assistance to Pakistan. And we spent about 3 months actually on that resolution alone. These students here are experts on U.S. foreign policy in Pakistan. That's actually not a joke. They really are experts. Other questions, maybe?
Ms. Warren? John? School committee members?
Well, I know some of you, and I'm not surprised that you're on the debate team and that you've done a good job of talking, and I'm impressed. I'm very, very impressed. I think you all have something to feel really good about, and it's really impressive, and it's really gratifying to see all of you. Some of I know you, and some of you I know your parents, and it's pretty amazing that you're all here. So thank you for representing us so well.
Ms. Kelly.
I just want to commend you. It's such a great life skill to do research about any topic and to be able to debate one side or the other, which I think probably you both have to be able to do both sides, right? And I think it's a skill that would be useful perhaps in Washington DC right now. So perhaps we'll see some of you in Washington DC in the future. The other thing I wanted to ask about, did you participate in a debate for the candidates that were running for office this year in Milton? If you might want to explain, I don't know whether it's this group or maybe another group, but if you could just explain a little bit, because I watched some of it. It was fantastic. You guys did a tremendous job.
Want to talk about it?
So this year, the Milton League of Women Voters, who typically moderated the town debate for offices, disbanded. So Frank Schroth actually asked the debate team to be the panelists and ask the questions for this forum. It was a really great experience for all of us because we all got to know a little bit more about the town government, which, I mean, I knew there was a town meeting and that was about it. We all learned more about the positions and their jobs, and we had to get into the issues, and I think it was a really good experience for everyone involved.
Mr. Walker.
Well, congratulations. I wanted the opportunity to see every single one of you, so I'm glad you're here. Congratulations to the faculty advisors and all of you for bringing, and particularly the upperclassmen, for bringing the program this far, this quickly. That's very impressive. And I couldn't agree with Member Kelly more. No matter what you decide to do in life, there are no skills that are more important than the ability to think critically and to be articulate about what's on your mind. So congratulations to all of you. Thanks for making us proud, but you'll be pleased to know that this work will serve you well later in life. Thanks.
Sharon.
I would just like to add that, going back to what was said when you first started, that this began as an after-school club and evolved into an elective, correct? So I'm not sure the origination of the club, whether it was student originated or faculty, was it student? So that's what I thought it was, and I think that that's a great example of students taking leadership roles and deciding that there's something that you'd like to see offered at your school, putting forth the effort to make it happen, and look where you've come. It's now an elective in the school, and you're making us so very proud. So congratulations to all
And
of
we
you.
should give credit that when the debate started as a club, Mr. Fitzgerald started, and then Ms. Warren and Mr. Fitzgerald have made a phenomenal team, but they had a mentor at Milton Academy, and Milton Academy has a long-standing debate team, and they really took on our fledgling team, who then, Mr. Fitzgerald, a little secret, told me you ran right by them, and did phenomenally, went to Washington with them on the same bus, and so sometimes, you know, I think those kind of partnerships aren't given enough credit and aren't recognized, and it was a wonderful way to begin. And I think that for school committee members and the viewing public to know what Ms. Warren and Mr. Fitzgerald tell me, that all of these individuals are involved in every aspect of Milton High School. And so they're in athletics, they're in other clubs and activities, and they hold up the academic part of their commitment to being Milton High School students. Very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
I echo Superintendent Gormley, everybody up there. I believe we saw some of you last night at the Scholastic Night for Milton High School, so we have folks who received awards for their academic work at the high school. You're also involved in drama, basketball, track, rugby. I mean, we have crew, we have a whole assortment of folks that do things outside of this hard work, and you're instructed and guided by 2 Teachers of the Year. Nancy Warren is a Teacher of the Year at Milton High School this year, and Nick Fitzgerald, the past Teacher of the Year, so we're very proud of all of you.
Just a quick question for the students, as the parents and some other adults might be feeling like we need to keep up with you now. What is it that you'd like to go to prepare? What types of publications? Is there anything in particular that you find helpful?
Well, the internet is tremendously useful. So I don't know, oftentimes we start out with a simple Google search and then sort of work from there. It's surprising the amount of information you can get with like 3 keywords. And we also have, they're called crossfire briefs, which are published collections of research that on the subject that's been provided for us. So I don't know, I mean, research has kind of not been as intensive as of late.
Yeah, Brookings, Cato.
Issue reports on all sorts of different topics, just factual reports on whoever we're involved in, whatever we're spending money on, et cetera. That's one we use a lot. Another source we use.
Brookings.
Brookings Institute is another
Yeah, lots of Washington-based like think tanks.
Major
and the like.
news organizations.
Yeah, and so she mentioned these crossfire briefs. These crossfire briefs are bought by debate teams.
Mike,
everywhere.
Mike.
So whereas they're a great starting point, and it's great that they have those. They know that every other kid has them too. So it gives them the factual background, but then they have to kind of dig deeper to find the research that's going to, stop their opponent from beating them in the debate. And they do a great job. I mean, a lot of them come in with these just great pieces of information of something they found somewhere while they were deep in research on the internet.
You know what amazed me sometimes on the Globe or the Patriot Ledger, you see a star athlete. And I didn't see you debate, but I went to Chelmsford during one of the debates, and all of you knew who your competition. So they had followed neighboring communities, and they gave me the update, how many points they were ahead, how many points they were behind. And Ms. Warren and Mr. Fitzgerald just looked, and the teams went off to their designated rooms in their suits, and women in their attire, and you made Milton High School very, very proud. And I wish you long and successful careers, hopefully at university on debate teams. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Warren, Mr. Fitzgerald. And all of the parents who came. Next, we'd like to ask to join us at the table Masha Uretsky, our Tucker Elementary School principal, and Martha Sherman, our Elementary Language Arts and Social Studies Coordinator, Title I Director. This is a wonderful news story for the Milton Public Schools. They're going to explain the Title I Commendation Schools Regional Dissemination Grant that the Tucker was awarded, a competitive grant, and what this grant is going to bring to enhance the education at the Tucker School and as a result of the professional development, impact teaching and learning in all of Milton Public Schools.
Thank you.
Mr. Uretsky probably will call me in the morning for an elementary debate team or something like that. 6:30.
I would be for that.
I think our kids would be pretty good at it, actually.
Welcome, Ms. Sherman, Ms. Uretsky.
Thank you for having us tonight. Martha put together a PowerPoint based on the talking points that we had sent you previously.
Late in February, we were notified that Tucker School qualified for the Title I Commendation Grant based on the fact that they had made the superb growth in their AYP status this year. So we're going to go through what the grant focus was, what we're going to do with the activities of the grant, et cetera. So the funds for this grant are for partnerships for regional schools, Title I schools, I'm going to turn this way so I can hide my back.
Can you help Ally do the clicking?
To disseminate effective practices in Title I schools across the state. In collaboration with the DSEC, which is our regional partnership set up by the Department of Education. So the grant will provide funds for dissemination of these practices and professional development. This was a new grant that came about from federal dollars based on the Title I school improvement funds. There were 16 proposals from the state of Massachusetts that were submitted. Only 14 were funded. The grant awards ranged from $18,400 to the top award was $75,000. And there were only 2 partnerships awarded in the Milton region, and that was the partnership with Malden and Chelsea and the Milton and Randolph partnership. And our total award for this work is going to be $59,209. The purpose of the grant, the overarching purposes, are to identify and document effective practices. What did Tucker do to get where they are? Disseminate these practices to level 3 Title I schools. We had to locate another Title I school in our region to share these practices with. To develop a description of the emerging trends, so look at the data, what effective things are put in, are those trends replicable? And then all of these will be rolled into a summary document and report by the DSAC people and will be published across the state. And then there is a reward portion for this for the commendation school for their good work. The catch to this grant was we wrote it and submitted it on February 27th. It was awarded the second week in March, and all of the activities have to be completed by the end of school. So there's a very short time frame. So Tucker is our commendation school because it is, God bless you, a Title I school. And if you remember from our AYP reports, it is schools statewide can be commended for exiting NCLB status, exhibiting high growth on the MCAS, or narrowing the gaps in subgroups. Tucker was a commendation school because of the high growth. You see the median student growth percentiles. We saw those again in the fall, and that's the reason why Tucker was a commendation school. They did make AYP in all of the areas, but they were still in status, so they were commended for high growth. The partnership. We had to work with the DSAC to find a partner school in our region to share our best practices with. It was no easy task. They had partnership districts out in the western part of the state. They had partnerships on the South Shore, and we pleaded with them to have a partnership closer because of our time frame was very narrow. So we contacted the DSAC person, who is Mary Ann Jackman, and she worked with us to form a partnership with the J.F. Kennedy School in Randolph. This school is very similar to the Tucker School. If you see on the re-enrollment chart that I put, it is a K-5. Tucker is K-5. The Randolph School is a pre-K-5. The enrollment at Tucker is 379. The enrollment at JFK is 369. Both schools reflect similar demographic groups, and both schools have full inclusion co-taught models. So it's a very good match for us. The activities for the grant: to develop a description of the emergent trends and practices that I said before. We had to allocate funds for a DSAC facilitator, and this person will be David Castelline. He's from Teachers 21, a reputable organization in the state, who work with all of the DSAC group. They provide professional development across the state. His job is going to be to document the process that we go through, the effective practices that we highlight, using the DSE specified protocols. That's a document that's about 60 pages long that sets forth all of the protocols and practices that we have to follow. So he's going to monitor our progress with all of those areas as we go through the process. He's going to work with both partnerships to make sure we stay focused on the goals, because if you get teachers and administrators and educators in a room, we can very easily go off topic and off focus, and where this is such a short time frame, he's the facilitator that's going to keep us focused. And he will attend the school visits and the Summer Institute to also document that. And finally, it is his job with us to compose that final report for the DSE as part of the grant requirement to disseminate for the state. We have a professional inquiry group and development facilitators from Teachers for Teachers, Tammy Mulligan and Claire Landrigan. Both of these women have been working with Tucker over the past couple of years to provide professional development services for us under Title I. They're very, very adept at establishing professional learning communities, knowing the protocols for learning walks, how to look at student engagement, student work, student instruction in the classrooms. So they are going to help us to facilitate and bring both groups together during the process. And they'll facilitate the series of learning walks between teacher groups at both Randolph and Tucker. They're going to facilitate targeted demonstration lessons. So as we go through and do observations in the classrooms, the teachers will come up with a particular point that they want a demonstration lesson in. For example, if it's engaging students, if it's a reader's workshop model, if it's shared reading, the teachers will come back and with Tammy or Claire will develop a lesson right at that point, and they will go in and teach that lesson, debrief, and look at the assessment as, you know, what was different? How can we improve that practice? What can we bring forward going forward to the next time? And they're also going to work with us to conduct the Summer Institute. We're going to go into more depth of these as we go forward. There's also a reward part for the Commendation School, and this is under the new AYP district leveling protocols that are coming forth. So we had to write in a reward for the Tucker School. And the funds were earmarked to reward the schools for their progress. Funds to purchase something for the commended school to put in the students' hands. So the grant funding that we decided was used to purchase technology, and that's in the form of iPads, to enhance student learning and access to the curriculum. And we're also going to use some of that grant funding to provide additional professional development for the Tucker teachers in the form of a webinar, hopefully on a new publication of a book, so it will be a teacher book group and webinar. And again, the fun part of this grant is we were awarded in mid-March, and it has to be completed by the end of school or by July 1st. So, and with MCAS and, wow. So Marcia's going to go more in depth with the components of this.
So there is quick turnaround, but we felt that the grant was a good fit for Tucker School because it's asking us to do things that are part of the life of Tucker. And the first part of it is learning walks. And the grant has outlined their vision of learning walks, and it really reflects the kind of the work that we've already been doing at Tucker School. We angled the grant, in fact, in terms of one of the successes at Tucker has been the fact that teachers are very willing to open up their classrooms and to ask tough questions about practice and to kind of depersonalize practice, to take objective looks at data and not to be defensive about it. So I think it's something that we bring to the table. And Randolph has been studying learning walks, and this is going to be new for them. So we're going to be able to be a model for them and share and open up our classroom. So the learning walks will be between Milton and Randolph. We're going to do a K1 learning walk, a 2-3 walk, and then a 4-5 walk. We'll do it at the Tucker School first, and then we'll go to the JFK School in Randolph. And so by grade level clusters. Part of the work is also in developing a collaborative learning community. So we're bringing two groups of teachers together that have never met before. But I also think a strength of the Tucker faculty is the fact that they can be very open and be ask a lot of really good questions about practice and be willing to in a way, be raw and say, this is who we are, let's take a look, let's give it a go, and do some investigative work. So the learning walks we're going to focus on really student engagement, because we know if students aren't engaged, then in terms of making progress, that's really the first step. And student engagement takes the focus of the learning walk off of teachers who aren't familiar with each other, off of the teacher piece of it, being under the magnifying glass, and looking at the students and how are they engaged in the learning. Part of the walk will also be looking at assessment data. Within the DSAC materials, there are rubrics for different categories, and we're going to be using the category on student engagement and the characteristics of that in terms of collecting assessment data when we do the learning walks. And then we're going to review the tiered instructional practices that we have. What's the classroom practice, what's Title I practice, and what's special ed practices at Tucker School. After doing the learning walks and collecting data, we're going to be deciding what is it that we want the students to do better. And together we'll create a demonstration lesson. And part of that lesson is, again, looking at best practice. What is best practice in terms of instruction? We're looking at modeling, what's an explicit instructional strategy we want students to learn, bringing them through guided practice, under teacher coaching, and then moving to independent practice. So together, the teachers will co-create a lesson. One of the consultants will go into the classroom and do the lesson. The teachers will all have specific roles in terms of what they're observing, and then come back and debrief. So based on that, how did the lesson go? What were the student responses? What will be the trajectory of future lessons, and how will we analyze that data in terms of success? The final component of the project is a summer institute. And this right now is very much a general idea, because based on the learning walks and based on teacher interest of what we're seeing the students do, the topics of the Summer Institute will be decided and made more specific. But the idea that we're getting is going to be in talking with Randolph and having initial meetings is also around student engagement and differentiated instruction. How are we going to meet the needs of all the learners within that classroom? Our Summer Institute will be open to all Milton elementary school teachers. It will be part of the summer course offerings. And we also have an item that teachers will be able to present mini workshops within the Summer Institute and present some of their best practices to other teachers. So there'll be some time for grade level clusters to work together, and then there'll be time for what we envision as mini courses, 1-hour mini courses that will take place over the 3 days. And we presented possible menu of workshop topics, but this is very much in flux, but we kind of know a general idea. We know when we're talking about student engagement, the types of things that we'll be looking at: data analysis, characteristics of effective instruction, small group strategies, using writing to measure understanding, and aligning practice to the Common Core. And these are all new things for the teachers, particularly the Common Core, and which is asking for a lot of rigor and a lot of student engagement and proof of student ownership in terms of owning the strategies and the standards of the Common Core. So it's a very exciting project. It's a very fast-tracked project, but we do feel comfortable that this is the kind of work that we currently undertake at Tucker School. So the teachers are excited, and I think it's a way to celebrate the hard work that the teachers have already done, and it's an honor to be even able to apply for this grant.
Any questions from the committee? Ms. Bagley-Jones.
Thank you for that presentation. That was great. Who wrote the grant?
Masha and I.
Thank you, because that's above and beyond what you typically would, well, maybe not typically, but what you're supposed to be doing. I want to ask something else about the learning walks, because I know I've done them in the past, but I don't know if everybody in the watching public knows what a learning walk is or what the goal of it is. But before you answer that, I want to ask about You talked about rewards, differentiated instruction, and student engagement, all things that, you know, we care about. What would the research say, or what would your practice be around how you reward students around achievement? Because not just Milton, but what we tend to do in education is to recognize the students who got all A's. Well, the students who got all A's are engaged and are getting rewards, but what about the student who took a risk in learning? What about the student who's most prepared? What about, you tell them a school social worker, not, you know, so I always wonder about those kids, and how do we, if we're talking student engagement and differentiated instruction, how do we do that? And you talked about rewards, I know they're iPads, but rewards
So-
in this grant, how would you do
Yeah.
that?
The reward of this grant is a reward to the school,
Right.
so the students aren't getting individual rewards.
I know that,
So
I
I
just mean, the rewards
Yeah.
came to my mind of like, how do you?
Absolutely. And I think that one of the things the state's done recently, and I agree with you, because not all the kids are starting at the same place. So to expect them all to be at the same place within an X amount of time is not realistic. Student growth is really the mantra at Tucker School, personal best and student growth. No matter where students are at, we're expecting them to grow forward, and we're expecting their personal best every day. Every day after the Pledge of Allegiance, we say, do your best work, not your fastest. Do better today than you did yesterday. So in my eyes, the best measure of student growth is, and what we reward is, did you do your best work? Did you do better today than yesterday? What's that measure of growth?
You want to add to that, Marcia?
No, it's the same, and you can feel that in the schools, you know, it's always putting the students and owning that responsibility too. I think sometimes the teachers feel that it's all up to them, but we have to enable the students to be responsible for their own learning and to really help them become the responsible learners that they are, not give them everything, you know, handed to them and expect them to just absorb it, but what is their responsibility, and how do they show us that they have the learning?
And that links back to that student engagement piece.
Yeah,
May I
Going-
contribute to something Ms. Bagley-Jones said? When Masha and Martha were explaining and updating us on this grant, and they're to be thanked for writing it, they had to explain to me several times this concept of reward, because, as I said, in our profession, a note from a parent, you know, or a student mastering a subject that you've presented in several different ways are our rewards. And so I've never really participated in a grant or a program where there was a reward. And they're to be complimented, working with the staff. They have a plan to have these iPads integrated into the curriculum, professional development for the teachers, moving the iPads as a class from class to class. They spent a tremendous amount of time with Mr. Phelan and Bob Patterson to really maximize that experience. But always, we're conscious of the smart boards in each school, and Mr. Walker was with us when we toured the schools, and at, I believe, the Glover and the Collycott, two parents donated iPads over the holidays. I don't know if they were used or what kind of it was a very generous donation, and it raised our consciousness about all of our students and accessing and having equal access to all of these marvelous tools. And then this reward grant came ahead. But what happens in Milton, Tucker will be the cutting edge. They'll perfect the professional development, how to integrate the technology into the classroom, and then we'll move across all of our schools.
Pick up on Ms. Bagley-Jones's point as well. Where are we in this process? I assume the learning walks are either have started or are
They
about
will
to start.
start next week.
And just to pick up on her point, for those who haven't participated in learning walks, and some of us have and find them fascinating, could you give the 30-second explanation of what they are to the viewing public?
A learning walk is where a group of professionals, in this case teachers and administrators, could be any kind of staff at the building, go into classrooms and observe what is happening based on a particular protocol. So you would go in to look at certain elements that are happening in that classroom. The learning walks that we're going to conduct, or our facilitators are going to conduct, I have a word-finding problem tonight, will be to look at particular elements such as student engagement. What are the kids doing? What is the vocabulary that they're learning? What does the room look like? What elements are presented? So it's not looking at a teacher and not critiquing a teacher, because that would be very uncomfortable where the schools don't know each other. So they're going to look at the student learning and take notes on particular elements that are focused in these protocols that we will select, a group of elements. We'll have them all looking at one piece, and then they'll have a choice at looking at other pieces. It also includes things like looking what's posted in the hallways, what type of student work is there. So it looks at the elements of the school, but not particularly at specific teachers. When you come back from that learning walk, the group debriefs and shares what they have seen and talked about, and that's where you get your elements for developing those common lessons.
So we're going to be looking at elements of student engagement. What are the types of questions students are asking? What's the level of student articulation, that they understand what's happening in the lesson and can explain it to strangers walking into the classroom, things like that. And the lesson will be designed to help students then be better at that. How do we get students to ask deeper questions, to explain and analyze thinking, and to be able to really articulate their thinking and their learning?
Sheridan.
This is really exciting.
It is.
Congratulations, not only on the success of the work that you did in able to apply for the grant, but also in the thorough planning of this. This is so tightly aligned with the Common Core standards, and everyone is going to benefit from it. But I think that it's a wonderful opportunity for your school and your faculty to be celebrated as leaders, because they will be leading, and the good work that they've done will pay off. I'm also interested in the iPad discussion, so we'll probably have to talk offline about this, but are you the first school to get, so this will be a classroom set of iPads, is that what it will be?
We're not using it as a classroom set. We're going to be using it in a multiple of ways. Some will be assigned to teachers, but there'll also be a bank of iPads that teachers can take out in clusters to use for classroom practices for different ways.
That's great.
So it really is. We talked a lot about it. There's a lot of unknowns. We're not exactly sure how everything will be implemented. But I think my faculty has already been taking iPad workshops in technology. We've been playing with it. We're going like crazy looking for the best apps. And they're willing to play. And we really see this as a way to narrow the achievement gap for some students and a way to provide enrichment for other students.
I'm happy to share apps with you. We'll talk.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyone else? Ms. Kelly?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. You know, it's wonderful that Tucker is in this position to even apply, as you said. But we know in writing grants, there's a lot of time and effort and brainstorming and collaboration that goes into that. So I appreciate the effort. It sounds all very exciting. And me sitting on the finance subcommittee, I look to the numbers. And so I look at the $59,000 and I'm saying, so is the iPads included in the $59,000?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're paying for facilitators and professional development people.
Right.
The teachers are putting in, I would presume, a lot of extra effort. Are they compensated in somehow, or?
No, the other money is to cover substitutes for both districts.
Okay.
When we go and do the learning walks. So the grant will provide for Milton subs and for Randolph's subs. The cost of the facilitators is divided between the two districts with that, and then the reward.
But to Ms. Kelly, Ms. Kelly, to your point, Ms. Kelly is really verbalizing what I asked in my sessions. It was very prescriptive that I said, well, why are we going to hire facilitators from outside of Milton when we have such talented people within Milton? And it was prescribed that you had to hire the facilitators. You had to spend X number of dollars on the reward. You had to hire the subs. The benefit to our district is going to be the professional development in the summer. That will help our budgeting process and our numbers.
And so, again, my question, so summer isn't usually a time that, will this be one of their 8-hour?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay, so
And it would be
Tucker
offered
teacher
the
participates.
week in June,
All
19,
teachers in the district
20.
will be open.
It
It'll
will
be open to
all
all
the
of the
teachers.
teachers in the district, the
At
professional
the elementary
development.
level.
And I guess I just want to comment that I think it's fantastic that the state is encouraging such collaboration, because schools like Tucker have a lot of best practices to share. And to Ms. Gormley's point, because I'm looking at it, okay, so Tucker's up there, it's, doing great work, and you'll be sharing those great practices with another school that perhaps needs that assistance, which is great for the learning community in general. But the fact that other teachers in the Milton Public Schools can participate and get benefit from that, I can see sort of how Milton will overall benefit. And besides the fact that, as we all know, if we actually teach something and participate in something, it becomes much more ingrained than, learning about it in the classroom. So, not in a classroom, but you know what I mean, in a book.
And the philosophy of the DSAC organizations, the district level, is to really hone in on what these best practices are and how to replicate them across other schools. So again, it's not keeping the secret right here in our own little Tucker school. It's how can that be replicated in other schools. So it's wonderful that we're partnering with a school that has similar demographics, enrollment, et cetera, because it will enable us to show them, yes, you can do some of these things and you can make progress.
And I just want to give some credit to the Randolph Public School. We're working with the John F. Kennedy School. They have spent a year preparing to do the learning walks. They've spent a year collecting data. You go into the wall of the principal's office and it's full of data. And so they're very ready for now their teachers to open up their classrooms to one another and to share practices and to really ask questions, to do some research, give it a try, see how the students do more of it or change it. So it seems to be a very good partnership.
That's great.
Do you have any plans to take this on the road after the grant is done? I mean, this is the sort of thing that plays well at professional conferences. Why just share it with Milton and Randolph?
Well, part of the grant is to be part of a community of commendation schools, and there's 4 meetings that we'll be attending, and they're looking to collect those practices, and I believe that it's going to culminate in something like that. I'm not sure where or when, but probably maybe the Title I conference.
And on that note, on the learning walks, we take them for granted. We meet as a leadership team, the principals, Matt, John, Karen Clasby, and myself, and every other leadership meeting that we have twice a month, we do a learning walk in a different school. And again, the principal determines how he wants to use that expertise of all of the leadership team. What's amazed me, how open our teachers are to have us, we divide into teams, and then we come back together and debrief. The benefits of those learning walks in the Milton Public Schools have been 100-fold for the leadership team, for the feedback, then the principal brings the feedback to the teachers, and it has driven instruction. So to have that kind of expertise targeted in on a classroom, and the principal decides whether it's, would you tell me the level of questioning that you're seeing? Let's just target in on student engagement. So the principal decides what the topic will be. So the value of these learning walks cannot be minimized. I think it's going to be an outstanding model. And before we end tonight, we would be remiss, and she'll be back here for her retirement event, but Martha Sherman has dedicated her entire professional career, and it's very poignant tonight that she's here with Marcia Uretsky. Martha began as a 1st and 5th grade teacher at the Tucker, and she has been our very esteemed, admired, dedicated, and visionary language arts, social studies, we say the longest title in the Milton Public Schools, and Title I coordinator. I want to thank you for the hundreds of teachers that you have mentored, the administrators you have worked with, and your dedication to the Milton Public Schools will long be remembered and always appreciated. We'll have you back here for the school committee reception, but we would be remiss, so this might be the beginning of your record.
Thank you.
Well earned, well earned. I've enjoyed all of it, even being a student here, so I don't know what my car's going to do in September when it doesn't have to come to Milton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a residency presentation by Assistant Superintendent for Personnel and Curriculum, John Phelan. We've been discussing this residency issue in Milton with our Finance Subcommittee. Mr. Phelan prepared in collaboration with Ms. Kelly and Mr. Walker, Matt Gillis, and Mr. Phelan and I, a presentation that will give you an update explaining what's happening in the Milton Public Schools around the issue of residency, student residency. Do you want the lights on?
No, no, fine. Mr. Winston, it's fine. Thank you, Superintendent Gormley. At the request of the school committee and the superintendent's office, I just want to give a quick update on where we are with the topic of residency at this point in the year on May 2nd, 2012. We, as you know, for folks who are tuning in and may be new to the school committee and to the schools, but want to start from the beginning, that we do acknowledge that the district works very hard in the area or the challenge of having students attend the schools who may or may not live in the town, and we take that challenge seriously and proactively. Over the problem and the challenge that we've had has been proactively addressed over the last 4 years under the administration of Superintendent Gormley. And when we look at this issue, we say, well, where do we start? And we always start with, well, what's the law? What is the school committee policy? And how do we go about ensuring that all of our students in the Milton Public Schools are residents of the town of Milton? So with that being said, we have work to do that lasts throughout the year, and we have some folks that help us with that work. In the Milton Public Schools, we have a part-time registrar, a full-time residency coordinator, and 2 stipended Milton police officers who work towards ensuring that when students enroll in the Milton Public Schools, or whether they are already enrolled in the Milton Public Schools, that they live and continue to live in the district by the letter of the law and by the letter of the policy. In the aggregate, if we add up the time that is spent by these 4 individuals, full and part-time, we average about 76 hours a week working on residency issues. We have a registrar who is a part-time registrar, part-time data specialist, so that means half of her day is spent enrolling children into the Milton Public Schools and ensuring the accuracy of the database. We have a full-time residency coordinator whose job is to primarily keep track of and coordinate and investigate and bring to resolution any and all residency cases brought to her attention. And we also engage our relationship with the Milton Police and hire 2 officers who are stipended to do the detective and investigative work on behalf of the Milton Public Schools. So as you can see, we dedicate a significant amount of time and resources to ensure that this challenge is addressed appropriately. We always talk about, well, why do we spend so much time talking about students who are in the schools that may not live there? Why don't we talk about this issue when they enroll in the public schools? So the enrollment process, we have always been holding it under review to ensure that it's proactive in its nature, and we also always look to reduce the likelihood of any student being enrolled in the system who may not live in town. We do so also try to provide the enrollment process to be user-friendly for all of our residents, but we want to make sure that we screen properly. An example of some of the new practices we have is that we actually do home visits. If students or families come in who cannot provide the appropriate paperwork because they may have an alternative living situation, we actually ask them, can we go by your house and can we have this meeting in your home to ensure that that is the case, that the residents and the address match up. Many of our families are very open and appreciative of being able to have that available to them to help them gain residency and enrollment in the schools. Additionally, we also provide affidavits that landlords and parents need to sign to demonstrate and document the authenticity of the documents they're providing, that are notarized by notaries, again, to ensure that we feel that all the documents that they are presenting are legitimate in nature. What is some of the data when we get into how much work is being done and what does that look like in terms of cases and students? We have, over the course of this school year alone, starting in September of 2011 through the end of April, investigated 171 cases. We have resolved 101 of those cases. And when we say resolved, we mean that 38 of those students of the 101 have been excluded for violation of the residency policy, and 63 of those students have been able to reestablish their residency and been now in compliance with the law and the school committee policy. Everyone we investigate, therefore, does not mean that they do not live in the town. A lot of our families move from one home in Milton to another home in Milton, and part of this process is to ensure that we have all information that is accurate in terms of contact information. We actually update a lot of our doctor information this way. We update all of our student and parent information, and a big piece of this and our focus with the residency is obviously where the families live. So we appreciate the flexibility and the response that we receive from our parents when we do ask folks to reestablish. It's a very helpful process when families come in and say, I've moved from Sias Lane to Governor's Road, and we get that paperwork and we update their information in the computer. All of our student information is computerized in a database especially built for public schools and the Milton Public Schools. There are currently 70 student cases that remain under review. 11 of those students are pending an exclusion hearing or being excluded at the end of the school year. 5 of our kindergarten students enrolling for the 2012-13 school year are with currently stating that they have alternative living situations. So they are awaiting meetings with me and the registrar, Doreen Walsh, and the residency coordinator, Doreen Walsh, and most likely we'll have home visits as well. We have to plan those out, we make appointments, and we work together with the parents to make sure that those meetings happen effectively and efficiently. Lastly, we are continuing to investigate and await the reestablished materials of about 54 families. And the reason why that's all in one line is that we give deadlines for folks to reestablish residency through the documents that they need to update. And as those timelines come, some folks reestablish and they become, they continue to be members of the school system. If they don't, they slowly slip into that bucket of cases where they may need to have an investigation or a meeting or a hearing held. So we kind of lump them together. That's one group of cases that we hope all end with folks reestablishing their residency in the town, but some of them end up as cases to be investigated or hearings to be held. The data over the last 3 years, through 2008 to 2011, we've averaged about 140 cases investigated a year, and we have excluded approximately 60 to 65 students per year over that 3-year span. As we look at the issue of residency, I think to the public, it might seem like a fairly cut and dry issue. Either you live in the town or you don't live in the town. And it's helpful to inform the public that there are several variables that go very much undisclosed to the general public, but very much reviewed and analyzed by the staff when considering residency. For example, we have the McKinney-Vento Act, which is the federal law regarding homeless students and homeless families. In this economy over the last 4 years, we have seen an increase in students who may have a homeless situation. So why would that be here around residency? Well, if someone is in a homeless situation and they're temporarily living in another town, they may have the right to attend school in Milton, and you may see someone driving in from another town and say, I think that may be a residency case. So it may look like one on the surface, but when we investigate and we work with the families, we realize that they do have a legal ability to still attend the school. The other determining complication when determining residency is the fact that we have a continual challenge around how we work through the guardianship issues with help from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and our legal team as we look at what does guardianship mean and how does that impact residency. And lastly, we also see a rise due to the economy in the amount of school parents and their children moving back in with their parents. So they may not have the technical documents required because they might not own the home or they might not pay some of the utility bills, and those are all documents that are required. So again, we treat these as alternative cases. We go to the homes, we visit the homes, we ensure that the families are living in the home before we enroll those families. But I bring these three areas up only to suggest that the issue of residency is a complicated one. Our goal is to work through this process in a very respectful way. We, in each case, treat every family like they are our parents, and we're very respectful of how we approach each case. And in the end, if someone can reestablish residency and stay in our system, that is great. In the end, if a family cannot demonstrate to the policy and the law's capacity to live in town and attend school, then they would be asked to leave, and we feel we always do this in a very appropriate, respectful manner. That is our goal. Lastly, if we, when folks ask about parts of the law that include restitution, the Milton Public School Administration and the school committee are presently exploring the feasibility of whether or not we want to access that part of the law and attempt to ask for or engage in with families the issue of restitution if they are in fact found not to live in the town and have been utilizing the schools over a period of time. We continue to explore that avenue with legal and school committee representatives. Lastly, what do I do if I know or I think I know that there's a residency case? If my child comes home and says, Timmy said he doesn't live here, or if I view a family coming in from another town each morning, you can call 617-898-1038, which is our hotline and voicemail. You can do that anonymously. You can email residency@miltonps.org, and you can do so, and we will let you know that we received your email and that we are working on the case. And we do have families or community members who actually write letters and just mail them in to the central office. So in summary, I would like to say that we are very much proactively engaging in this issue and challenge in the Milton Public Schools under the current administration. We feel it is very important that all families that have children in the school reside in the town of Milton per the law and the school committee policy. We engage in this work in a very proactive and respectful manner, but a vigilant manner to ensure the integrity, as we are asked to be accountable for our budget, and our taxpayers and our community members have echoed over the period of years that they feel it's important as well. So we want to report out to our community that we do so in a very professional and proactive manner.
Any questions for Mr. Fallon?
It's not a question, but thanks, John. I think that was a very helpful update. This is an important issue for all of us, and normally I would say that humility and modesty are good qualities to have, but Mr. Fallon has significantly understated the role that he plays in making sure that we're accomplishing the successes that he's just talked about. Specifically, on an interim basis, he actually performed the role of the residency coordinator, so that would mean 2 jobs in addition to the very big job he already has. But more importantly, he provides leadership on a day-in, day-out basis on issues that are incredibly sensitive and incredibly complex. So I would just like to say on behalf of the committee, thank you, and we do recognize that, even though you didn't mention it.
Good point.
And he does it so well that it's at his level that those cases are solved. And so that we appreciate on behalf of the district, and John Phelan will always remind us that these are sensitive issues. These are somebody's children and families, but you
right.
handle them with respect and dignity, but still remaining that all children who live in the town of Milton have a right to go to the Milton Public Schools, and those who don't live in Milton will not go to the Milton Public Schools.
Thank you.
Ms. Kelly?
I'd like to echo the sentiments about what a great job Mr. Phelan has done on this, to the extent that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that other districts sort of call you and ask for advice as to how to handle such things. But that's important, and I guess the other point I wanted to make is that Milton is truly unique in so many ways, and this is certainly one of them. And I think about, as a public school system, what is our obligation, right? And so presumably, every resource that we can put in to classrooms and educators will benefit our kids. Well, you know, we're a community that, because of where we are and because of our uniqueness, we hire a full-time residency coordinator. So money that could be spent in a classroom is being spent elsewhere. And there are other instances of that as well. And I think, I just want to thank the administration for being so forthright, putting the effort into this that's needed. But it's one of those reasons when we look at the school budget and we say, you know, we try and identify places where we can trim or whatever, we have such extraordinary needs in terms of just keeping the schools moving forward and the great operation that they are. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
And thank the administration.
Anything else? All right, Ms. Gormley?
I'm going to move happenings to the next meeting.
Okay. So we'll move on to the chairman's report. First, Ms. Sheridan on the 350th.
I just want to give a quick update. Town meeting is going to be held this coming Monday night. And it traditionally is held here at the high school, but the opening night is going to be moved to the First Parish Unitarian Church. Actually, town meeting was held there from 1788 to 1835, so we're returning back to our roots for this 350th celebration after 177 years of being away. But there's something that you need to know about that, because we're inviting all of the town churches to ring their bells at 7:15 in an old-fashioned call to the meeting. So if you are a resident that's not a town meeting member, you might not know about this, but you will hear the bells and wonder what it's all about. So when you hear the bells next Monday night, it will be a call to town meeting. There probably won't be space for you at the Unitarian Church, but I would strongly recommend that you tune in to watch it on TV, because there are going to be a lot of special celebrations. Thank you.
Yes.
Will there actually be room for all the town meeting members?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
Ms. Kelly?
Well, I guess on that same vein, number one, I would ask about parking, because I don't understand. I mean, we have trouble when it's here, where we have specific parking places for the many people who come to town meeting. So is there some special accommodation that's being made for that?
So I just came from a meeting of many people who are charged with coordinating this event, and a letter is going out to all town meeting members tomorrow outlining all the specifics of the town meeting. And parking is available at Pierce as well, which is just a very short walk. But there is at First Congregational Church, Town Hall, Unitarian Church, Pierce Middle School.
And then the other question I have is just around town meeting. So traditionally, anyone who wants to come to town meeting can. And it's an open meeting, and I think it falls under the open meeting category. So if we can't accommodate everyone who comes to the church, are we then, do we have, an additional overflow room set up, or how will that all work?
So we're looking into that right now to find out about cable access in the hall. I don't have the specifics on that yet, but that will be made available as soon as possible.
Great.
And people are encouraged to carpool also in terms of parking, so don't come all by yourself.
So we're not going to get any trolleys, like we could park at the high school and ride the trolley?
I asked that question, but not this time.
I think it would be horses.
There you go.
There will be very many special events that night. You won't want to miss it.
All right, anything else on the 350th? We need to take our vote on school choice, our annual vote on school choice. We had a study and a presentation on it last year, as you may recall, about the various different school choice districts and the effect of school choice and so forth on the district. The law is that unless we take a vote to opt out, we automatically become a school choice district. So,
Move that for the 2012-2013 school year, we decline to participate as a school choice district.
Second.
moved by Mr. Walker and seconded by, I think, everyone at the table, but we'll call it Ms. Sheridan because she was closest to my ear. Any comment or discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor? That is unanimous, thank you. Two other quick notes from me. First, as people will notice, there are only 5 school committee members at the table tonight, as there are now currently only 5 school committee members. Mr. Cohen has submitted his resignation. I am in the process of discussing with the selectmen exactly how we'll go about filling the position. The town bylaw is that within 30 days of the vacancy, we have to notify the selectmen of the vacancy, and at least informally I've done that. I'll write a formal letter to that effect shortly. We have to allow 7 days, at least 7 days notice for interested registered voters of the town of Milton to declare their interest in filling the position for the remainder of this year. It would be till the next election. At this point, a couple people have already informally said they are interested. As sort of a formal process, I would ask that people either write to me as the chair of the school committee at the high school at central office, or send an email again to, well, we could do it generally to school committee at miltonps.org to express their interest, and we'll start a list. The actual process we're going to have to sit down with, we will probably have some sort of interview process. It would certainly be at an open meeting, probably a joint open meeting of us and the selectmen, but we'll have to work out the details of this to give people a chance to express why they would like to do this. And then the bylaws are that the 5 of us plus the 3 members of the Board of Selectmen would then vote and elect a person to fill the remainder of the term. So we're I've been playing telephone tag for the last 3 days with selectmen, and so we'll get this straightened out by our next meeting. But I would suggest that if people are interested, you take the time to either drop a letter of intent or an email of intent to me, care of the superintendent's office here on Gile Road, and 25 Gile Road. Too many numbers. So the school committee at Milton High School, 25 Gile Road, Milton, or again, school committee or G. Pavlicek, either way, at miltonps.org. And we will start to accumulate those names of interested people. So, and by our next meeting, we should have a process at least drafted out for the committee to look at, just to nail down exactly how we're going to do it. The other one piece that I'll put out for you, yes?
Ask something about that. We had talked last time about having something drafted that could go to people about the major points of being on the school committee. And I didn't know if there, in the policy, there was a policy that talked about the role of the school committee and the role of the superintendent. I forget what it's called, but maybe that could be given to people. And whatever the other policy is about, I think it says on that one about family members.
Sure.
Something, we talked about that last time, making it really clear to people.
Your colleagues, Mary Kelly and Leroy Walker, are on it.
Yes, but I was just thinking, even just the school committee policy to start, if you don't have it done in time.
No, we'll be ready.
Okay.
I promise.
It would be good to give that to people before they put their name public, I think.
Okay.
Right? Because it might.
Well, if nothing else, if they send their names to me, I can then send the material to them.
Exactly, right. Thank you.
The only other piece that I want to mention is, since Mr. Kahane resigned, we don't have a representative on the MPEG committee, and so I would invite any of the school committee members who might be interested in that to let me know. And we'll, at our next meeting, we can appoint Milton Public Access, the cable.
Do you know when they typically meet? Is that an evening meeting?
It is an evening meeting.
It is a night meeting?
No, it's not? Oh, first Monday at noon.
Ooh, first Monday at noon. Well, that'll cut down the number of volunteers, I think, but we'll see what we can do.
It may cut it down to 0.
In any case, if you're interested in that, let me know. On the Finance Subcommittee, I'm watching our cable operator get greener and greener by the moment.
Where-
Is this something that needs to be voted tonight, or can we put this off to our next meeting, the fee proposal?
I think I would defer to the administration on that.
I think we can wait till our next meeting, Mr. Gillis?
Sure, if you like.
Yeah,
Thank you.
The citizen speak topic responses, anyone have one?
Yes.
Yes.
On two issues. A group of parents came and spoke, two parents came and spoke to school committee about our first grade programs. Mr. Phelan and I met with a group of parents last Friday morning, and I have another meeting scheduled for this Friday morning, and I'll provide school committee members with updates. And another Milton Public School parent regarding first grade student assignment spoke at Citizen Speak, and Mr. Phelan spent time this morning with the parents, and from what I understand, they understand one another and understand the process, and brought around resolution so that everyone understood. So we've followed up on those two Citizen Speak issues.
Ms. Bagley-Jones.
What I was going to say was about the same two issues, that I wanted the parents to know that they were heard, that we all listened to them, and that I was sure Ms. Gormley and Mr. Phelan would follow up, and lo and behold, you beat me to the punch, and you did follow up, and that's just a sign about your administration, and I appreciate that. So parents really know that they're heard, and that's a great thing, so thank you.
Thank you.
The next being agenda items, we just moved two off, actually, because we have a set of minutes as well.
May I?
Yes.
Mr. Walker had asked for a NEASC update. The high school team will be here with a NEASC update. Ms. Bagley-Jones had commented on the bullying publication. Mr. Cron will be here with the bullying committee before that goes out in the mail to explain that piece. Bill Ritchie, our Consolidated Facilities Coordinator, will bring his new appointment to the table. And I think it's very, very important. There's a state mandate on establishing a body mass index of particular grades, and this information's going out to the parents and guardians of children of particular grades. So a very brief presentation by Margaret Gibbons, our head school nurse, on those letters and information. School committee members had asked me, and we're in draft form now, doing an update of the school year. So that will be at our June school committee meeting, not the May.
Anything else for upcoming meetings? Mr. Walker?
I noticed this from the minutes, so thanks, Maura, our silent partner. But we had a conversation, this was just after we lost a former student to a drug overdose. I had asked about drug abuse prevention, what we're doing, what we need to do, and I would like an update on that.
Absolutely. We'll move that into our next school committee meeting.
Anything else? You'll notice on the agenda, we added a second citizen speak. We'll try this out as an experiment for a little while to see if it is useful. I see no one interested in citizen speak for the second round of the night. So at that point, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of contract negotiations with our ASME custodial unit, to adjourn from executive session, not to return to open session.
So moved.
Mr. Walker. Seconded by Ms. Sheridan. This is a roll call vote. Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Ms. Sheridan.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Ms.
Yes.
Bagley-Jones, yes.
Yes.
And Ms. Kelly, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.